This is the first call for the dairy cattle. Again, this is the first call. Please make your way to the ringside.
On channel 2 or 3?
Don't trust anyone.
I'm not.
that aspect about her. Give that young lady a big round of applause. The young lady that goes two, again, I think there's some advantages and some give and take, if you will. And the reason she settles second is there's just not as much punch and power, if you will, right there in the center portion of her skeleton. When I got in behind her, thought she was a little narrow from hooks to pins and maybe nickel short and steep in terms of her stride. But past that, that is a feminine featured one. The young lady does a tremendous job of getting that thing lugged around the ring. Hats off to her. Give her a big congratulations as well, too. And we'll get you guys into the beef cattle show now.
Okay, Cody, go to the couch.
In first place, Riley Pollock. And in second place, Kimberlyn Pollock. Now entering the ring will be the breeding beef. This is the first call for Class 1 FFA market. Please be ready at ringside.
On you. Don't pan. Zoom in on the girl. Good.
This is it, right? Breeding show. Well, just one heifer in the entire breeding show. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but I truly do believe she's got value and definitely could withstand some more competition. Because off to the side, when you get past that shoulder blade and into her top line, that thing is so strong and straight in terms of how that upper skeleton lays in. You know, you study from her hooks into her pins. I love the length. I love the width. And by, obviously in terms of her age, she's got a tremendous amount of grow left in her. But I think everything matches and everything fits together. The angle of her shoulder, the set to her knee. You study that one on the lead in terms of her range of motion. She has the ability to fill her tracks. There's not a perfect one made, right? And we're always trying to, as breeders, progress ourselves. Again, I think we can make that one just a nickel more unique as you study her head shape down into her neck to be that much more show ring driven. And the young lady chit-chatted, obviously she's out of a commercial herd, so take that, for the grain of salt. But for me as a show judge, I like them that extra extension, that extra elevation. But past that, that's a good built functional cow or heifer that I obviously think has the ability to work her way into a productive brood cow prospect. So congratulations to her. We'll get you guys a Fat Steer show started here shortly.
In first place, Rissa Fogarty.
Yeah. Follow the cow. Good.
Now entering the ring is Class 1 FFA market, weighing 1,120 pounds. This is the first call for Class 2. Please be ready at ringside. This is the second call for Class 2. Please be ready at the ringside.
Well, just one to sort through the initial class as we start the Fat Steer show. And with that being said, obviously we've got one on the lighter side of the spectrum, but at the same time, when you get your hands on him, I think he handles mellow enough for me from that fore rib and then lays enough fat deposition down into that rear rib. Ideally, I think off to the side is where I get nitpicky on him, and it makes sense to me. We just got to make him mellower and softer from his rear flank to make that proportional look come as we study him off to the profile. And simply put, that's just going to take time. I think he's a good kind of cattle. He's big-footed. He's stout-boned. You study him from the upper two-thirds of his skeleton. I love the transition and the smoothness he offers from his neck back into a straight and strong top line. You swing in behind him and you study him on a muscularity aspect. Maybe not the most impressive in terms of muscle, but there's enough there relative to the weight of that calf. I think the young man said he's right around 1,100 pounds. So with that being said, logical decision. Obviously, he's a single one, but definitely could have withstood some competition. Give him a huge round of applause as he exits the ring.
In first place, Cord Peak. Now entering the ring is Class 2. Currently in the ring is Class 2 of FFA Market Steers, weighing 1,210 pounds to 1,230 pounds. This is the first call for Class 3. Please be ready at the ringside.
Yeah, I saw some. That's good. Hold it steady.
Thank you. Why are you doing
Well, obviously, the biggest class we sort through this evening, and I apologize to take a little bit longer in those regards, but at the same time, I think there is quality on a truthful aspect, 1 through 6, and we'll chit chat from the top side of the class and work our way down. I love the presentation and the poise of the young lady's all black steer, and that's the steer that wins this particular class. I think his biggest advantage is off to the side, and from the ground up, he's so big in his foot, stout in his bone, and at the same time maintains power and look as you study him off to the silhouette. His ability to tie that neck up high into his shoulder and then transition so smoothly into a straight and strong top line, and then you study the lower third of his body cavity, he's not dead on, if you will, in terms of the depth of his foreflank back into his rear flank, but at the same time, I think everything is smooth enough, everything's very proportional. On a meat and muscle aspect, you get in behind him. I don't know if he's the biggest ended one, I'm going to push that aside because I think he's got enough meat. He's got enough muscle and power relative to his weight. You get your hands on him and you touch him right there into his forerib. He's very mellow and soft to the touch. Young lady does a tremendous job in terms of presenting that one and getting the one on the stand. So give her a big, big round of applause as she exits out the ring. Different type and kind as we go 2 and 3, and I think those are more similar in terms of how they're built and how they look. These are the ones that are the most mellow with you, right there into the center part of their body cavity. From his foreflank back into his rear flank, that depth is a lot more proportional than what we see in our class winner. I just didn't see the added style and look like I found in that all-black calf to win. If you study him from his shoulder forward, a little bit shorter and coarser into his neck, and you get in front of him, his chest floor reads a lot deeper than what I'd deem ideal relative to the depth that he has right there into his foreflank. But past that, that is an easy feeding, soggy middled steer. Young lady does a really, really good job on that all red one. Let's give her a round of applause as she scoots on out. The silver steer, the white steer, however you want to ID him, I think, again, he's similar to the one that we just talked in second. And you really do study that body cavity and that center skeleton. That thing is so bold and opened up from his forerib up into his shoulder and then pushes that power back into a hip. Bold centered, big middled as well, too. This one, to me, to better illustrate it, is just piecey. And what I mean by that, there's not a lot of balance. And I'm a big, big fan of good-looking, smooth-made ones. This one's too short in terms of his neck design. Wants to read too straight and forward in terms of how his shoulder lays in and is assembled in that skeleton. But hey, if you like him big-bodied and soggy-middled, I would listen to that argument and maybe get him up another spot. And I think as you get in behind him, just simply runs out of steam and gas. He's got so much bulk and punch and power right there in his center cavity. If we can transition that from his rear third, make him bolder and wider from his stifle down into his lower quarter, I think that would benefit him. Nonetheless, good feeding one. Young man does a tremendous job. Give him a big, big round of applause. I like the basic and fundamental aspects of the steer that we've gotten for, because I think when you get in behind him relative to what we got less, this steer right here is so big and bold and bulky in terms of the amount of mass he lays from his stifle to his stifle and all the way down to the lower quarter. Problematically for me, sorting these things today, read this one too short and steep in terms of how his hips set up. With that being said, wants to restrict him in terms of his overall movement as the young man gets him on the lead. I'd like to smooth him out and make him meter right there into this the point of his shoulder, just to make him that much more eye-appealing and better balanced. But that is a basic. I reference them as meat and potatoes, good-bodied, good muscled. Just got to fix that one on a skeletal aspect to get him up a spot or two. Young man does a tremendous job. Give him a big round of applause. We'll talk the remaining two together because I really think they've got some issues that are positive, and I think they've got some issues that we need to fix to make them that much more competitive. Simply put, I want to see him better balanced. And what I mean by that, I really like when everything blends and matches so smooth. This calf that's fighting the halter right now, maybe just a nickel too tall in terms of how he's designed on a skeletal component. If we can moderate his frame size, I think that would make him not only an easier feeding type of calf for the young lady to raise, but at the same time, just allow him to look the part off to the side when we get into these heavier weights of the fat steer shows. We moderate that one, he definitely moves up a spot or two, but nonetheless, she does a good job on the stick. Let's give her a huge round of applause. Take nothing away from the young man that rounds out the class, because again, every single one of these, and I failed to say it on the mic, they all touch mellow. They all touch soft enough. There's not one that I got my hands on that I question, is that one going to be market ready? Does that one have the chance to push towards the choice grade? I truly do believe so. As you touch them and you study their external fat indicators through their chest floor, their tail, head, or pone fat, I think all of them have enough fat deposition. So with that being said, just because these are at the tail end of the class, they still have some positive traits. Just want to see that one heavier in terms of his muscle, and then study his lower skeleton. To me, you get in behind him. We got to pull him apart from hawk to hawk to make that width that he has up high match down low. Nonetheless, good fit job. Young man does a good job getting him stuck. Congratulations to both these kids. We'll get you guys a next class here shortly.
In 6th place, Cooper Peak. In 5th place, Chase Gardia. 4th place, Nolan Dowers. 3rd place, Caleb Gillum. 2nd place, Kiara Delgado. And in 1st place, Madison Benninger. Now entering the ring is Class 3 market steers weighing 1,245 pounds to 1,280.
Zoom out, yeah. Zoom out. Place your camera where you want it. Stabilize it. On you.
It won't stabilize. They can't keep it looking on.
It's good right there. Sit down. Put your hands around it like a circle. Don't touch it, yeah. That was great. He's in a column back.
Go back to where they were. Just go back to where they were.
Yeah.
Well, definitely an assortment of types and kinds, and I'll hopefully be clear enough on the mic so you guys can follow my mindset and where my priorities are lying. And it's the initial look off to the profile that really draws my attention to this young lady's calf. And obviously, you guys are watching. He's not letting us get his hands on him, but I did touch right there at his forerib and thought definitely was mellow enough. And then you get off to the side and you study him. I think he's deep enough in his rear flank. You study he's got some cod deposition as well too, and then through his chest floor and brisket, he's got enough fat laid down there for me to tell myself mentally that he's going to handle soft enough as you get into to his rear rib section. With that being said, it's look and presentation again. From the surface up, he may not be the stoutest or the biggest backed in this particular class, but again, everything is balanced and everything is super proportional in those regards. I love him up high in terms of how smooth he transitions to the top side of his skeleton. You study him on the lead in terms of mobility. That skeleton is assembled impeccable. And at the same time, I think everything balances and matches. He's got enough bark up high in terms of meat and muscle. I like that guy quite a bit. Give her a huge round of applause. Different speed and kind and two. And if you want to talk about one that's more mellow in terms of how he's built, being bigger bodied and soggy and riddled, I'd listen to that argument all day long. I'm trying to be consistent in terms of how we're sorting him. The problem with this guy is when you get that initial silhouette look, he's too deep in terms of his chest floor relative to where his rear flank settles in. If we clean him up there and make him smoother on the lower third of his body cavity, I think he's got a better day for this particular judge. I love the moderation. I love the stoutness of feature and muscle mass he portrays. Just couldn't look past that silhouette. Got to make him neater and tidier for me. With that being said, that's a good-bodied, easy-feeding one. Congratulations to him. Quite honestly, the one that throws me is the cream-colored calf here in third, because I love the front two-thirds about him in terms of how he's built and how he looks. It's when you get your hands on him, I get critical of him. He handles soft and spongy enough right there into his forerib, but as he transition back into his rear rig and flank, he just handles and touches too dry, and I think his rear flank matches that as well too. We got to regress that, make that mellower and softer to give him that true fat steer look, in my opinion. Love the backside width he offers. Love how much muscle he packs from stifle to stifle. Just want to see that one mellower and touch spongier for my liking. But nonetheless, that's a good type of steer. Give him a big round of applause. The young man in four, again, I love the center body shape and the power and the roll he has to his rib cage. You know, you study him from behind on a muscularity aspect. He's got enough muscle there. The problem with this one in terms of how I study him is he just doesn't balance up from a bone to body to mass ratio. He's got the smallest foot in terms of this class. He's too fragile in his bone. If we make him bigger footed, we make him denser in terms of his bone work, everything's going to match and balance up that much neater. That's where I got to fix that one. But hey, good bodied, easy feeding, like that guy for those aspects. Congratulations to all four of these young people. Let's give them a huge round of applause.
In fourth place, Jesus Delgado. Third place, Aiden Scott. Second place, Josiah Lemons. And in first place, Madison Benninger. Now entering the ring is Class 4 market steers weighing 1,300 pounds to 1,385.
On you. Zoom in a little bit. Right there.
Well, absolutely quality from top to bottom, and I don't say that just to say it, if you will. But I think as you study the top pair and as they settle side by side, I hope you guys are kind of following the mold that I'm looking for, because I think both of these steers offer a tremendous look as you study them on the profile and the poise and the presentation that they have in terms of their length of neck and smoothness and being straight and strong in their top line. And then everything blends and balances, not only in terms of height and length of back and depth of fore in their rear flank, it's the bold center body as well, too. So I appreciate about that. The young lady that wins this particular class, it's simply because he's the bigger hipped option of the pair. You get in behind him and you study him up high, not only the back side of his shoulder, but more specifically from his hooks and into his pins. He had a decisive advantage, in my opinion, as you got in behind him. Again, love the body shape, love the look that he offers onto the silhouette. I like that guy quite a bit. Give her a big round of applause. I think, quite honestly, as we get into 2, 3, and 4, there's some things that you could do based on where your priorities lie. And again, I'm a big first impression type of judge, especially as we study him off to the side. I thought this one was so neat in terms of its neck shape. I love the stout, bold skull he works to. He's stout in terms of his foot and bone, and maybe has that advantage over the eventual class winner. It's when you get behind him and you study him up high in terms of punch and power and width on a hook and pin aspect. Got to see that one bolder and wider in those regards. That, quite honestly, too, maybe run out of steam just a little bit relative to our class winner as you study him from his stifle into his lower quarter. But nonetheless, to be in that top pair of such a competitive class, let's give both those individual young ladies a big, big round of applause. A young lady that comes third, I think one that's meat and potatoes, and we've used that term a couple times this evening, but he's basic in his build. He's big-bodied, he's soggy-middled. You know, you can study him off to the side, and then this is not why he goes third, but just heavier sheathed, if you will. Ideally, we want to clean that portion up. It's on the lead is what does it for me. I think he's too straight in terms of how his shoulders assembled on that skeleton. You study where his front 2 feet plant. He wants to push and roll on both sides of those hoof walls. If we can square him up and make him go more north to south, I think that would allow me to move him up a spot or two, because he's bulky bodied, he's good middled, he's definitely got some muscle and meat. Just want to pretty that one up, tidy him up, if you will, in terms of how that shoulder's assembled and laid in, and then fix his front too. But nonetheless, that's a good, practical, easy feed and steer. Give her a big, big round of applause. The two different ones of the bunch go 4 and 5, and quite honestly, man, you cannot deny that the young lady in the red vest, that steer by far, and I see it, is the biggest footed and the stoutest in terms of his bone work. You get behind him, he lays into a big, big hip. I just thought when I got my hands on him, he read the stalest. I want to see him touch spongier, softer, and more mellow, especially as you get out of that forerib and transition back into his rear rib. I got to lay more condition or more finish, if you will, down there. Same thing holds true to the steer we just talked initially. We got to tidy that shoulder. He's too bold and bulky up there. He wants to splay his front too. But hey, that is a big-footed, monster-legged one. Big congratulations to the young lady on a nice job getting him exhibited. The bigger scaled one ends out this class, and it is just that. Thought of the top 5, he just read too big, if you will, too tall and too framey for my liking. If we moderate that one, I think everything blends and balances that much neater. We got to drop him and regress him in his rear flank as well too. But with that being said, he's got some look off to the side. Just wish he was a nickel more moderate in terms of how that skeleton's laid in and assembled. But with that being said, that's a quality one to find himself on the bottom side of the class. Let's give her a huge round of applause as these young people exit the ring.
In 5th place, Peyton Johnson. In 4th place, Trinity Blackburn. 3rd place, Delaney Kalk. 2nd place, Peyton Kalk. And in 1st place, Miley Patton. Now entering the ring is Class 5 market steers weighing 1,405 pounds to 1,415 pounds. Next in the ring will be the FFA Champion Drive. Please be ready at the ringside.
I want you to go check waters on your kids and then I'll receive. Okay.
Zoom out a little bit. And come a little bit to the right. That's good. Good. The other right.
Yeah. Just let me know, don't leave the car. So, I'm finding the children. Okay, alright, just don't leave with all the. Alright, let's see if
Well, we have to. Go make that, and then those kids are coming out. Go get it. Well, send Turquoise over on the bike to get the fans. And then you guys can make the feed. So. Yeah.
Well, just a trio of them, so we'll leave them lined up as they are, but we'll talk them in terms of how I sorted them. I'm going to opt to start to the young man on my far left, that snip nose steer, and I think he does a lot of basic things. Now, the glaring hole for me, and let's talk about where we can fix him right off the bat, it's his chest floor and how he transitions back into the lower third of his body wall. I got to make that one neater and trimmer to kind of find the mold that I've been looking for. I put that aside because when you get your hands on that Mellow Made steer, man, he handles so fresh to the touch, and that's his big advantage over the young lady steering too. I love how soft and mellow he touches. He reads that same as you study him off into his rear flank. His depth of his rear flank is very proportional in terms of how he ties in right there into his foreflank. I think maybe more impactfully for myself is that thing on the lead. He is so soft and deep in his heel. He's so flexible and mobile, and he's packing a lot of punch up high in terms of muscle mass and in terms of center body. So with that being said, like the practicality of that young man steer, let's give him a big, big round of applause. Quite honestly, the steer in second is more my speed, if you will, off that initial view that you get on the profile. His length of neck, it has the advantage. His depth of chest is neater relative to our class winner. I think as you study him at the ground, he reads a nickel smaller in terms of his foot size. And again, the more problematic aspect for me is when I got my hands on him. Just wanted to read that dry, if you will, and that much more stale than our class winner. If we freshen him up in terms of how he handles and we make him that much bigger in terms of his foot size, then maybe he pushes our class winner. Because when she gets him set up on the standstill and plants him correctly, that thing paints a very, very good profile. So congratulations to her. No slouch in three, quite honestly, because he has an advantage over the young lady in second in terms of his foot and in terms of his skeletal feature on a bone power aspect. Here's the problem with this one is when you get in behind him, I read him the narrowest and the most pinched from his hooks into his pins, and then that fault transitions all the way to the surface. He was the most closed up, in my opinion, in terms of power of lower skeleton. If we ramp him up in those regards, I think he pushes up a spot or so because he handles more appropriately for my liking when you get your hands on him. But with that being said, a quality one that's got big old feet, big legs. Young lady did a tremendous job. Give her a big, big round of applause.
In third place, Alina Berry. In second place, Evelyn Thornburg. And in first place, Will Kemp. The class-winning steer from Will Kemp was also locally bred and fed. Now entering the ring is the FFA Champion Drive.
She back yet? Hi, where are you? Okay, well, let's get back to some pieces. I guess that Rowan and Bell are going to keep it. I know, but we didn't all need to go. We just go on those logs. Yeah. where's turquoise one? So I'm gonna go back.
Well, let's give these 6 individuals a huge round of applause for winning their individualist classes. I guess it'd be 5, pardon me. 5 individuals to win their classes. You know, I'm an ag teacher. My kids show as well, too, and we raise some show pigs at the house. So you go to a lot of these shows, and as a family, our goal is to always win your class, because once you win your class, then that truly does open up the avenue to get to this stage of the game, and then eventually come the end of the evening, we'll get you guys a Supreme steer. So don't say that lightly, because the more and more we do these things, the more competitive and the tougher it becomes. So truly, as a teacher, as a judge, as a breeder, my hat's off to all 5 of you for getting to this stage of the game. I'm not going to break them down. We talked them in class, but I definitely will give you the reasons on why we find the top 2 in this particular division. And I think there's a pair of them out here, but there's one that just in terms of sheer feature, in terms of that lower skeletal width, and then you step in behind and you study him from hawk to hawk. He's wide from hooks to pins. I love the softness of heel that he brings forth as well, too, when the young man gets him on the lead. Quite honestly, I get it, and I've been talking about that initial look off to the side. I've got to look past that deep chest floor, because there's just so much good in terms of that mellow-made, stout-featured steer that wins your last class. That's your champion FFA. Let's give him a big, big round of applause. The second place to the final class, if you'd bring your steer in, we'll get you in the lineup as well. We bring the second place steer in that competitive class, how I saw it, and one that definitely is more my kind, if you will, is you really break him down and analyze him off to the side, because he's the neater necked one that ties in smooth to the back side of his shoulder. And I think more impactfully for me, he's just better right there through his chest floor. He's neater in those regards. We talked to him in class, and why he didn't win, or why he settled second to our eventual FFA champion, was just thought he handled just a nickel stale, or relative to what we say. And I got to be careful of what I say, because he's not stale to the touch, but relatively side by side. Thought that champion FFA was that much mellower. I think he's got enough, if you will, as you start to break him down on those fat deposition aspects and you get your hands on him. I like him second best. Let's give her a big, big round of applause.
That's good right there. Follow the judge. Follow the judge. Love them all.
Congratulations, your champion FFA market steer was Will Kemp. And reserve champion FFA market steer went to Evelyn Thornburg.
Get ready to follow the on you.
Have you seen on your bike ride? Have you seen the pig walkers?
Now entering the ring is Class 6 4-H market steers weighing 1,110 pounds.
I just ran for the.
This is the first call for Class 7. Please be ready at the ringside.
Well, obviously, just a single entry as we turn the page and enter into the 4-H side of things. And with that being said, this guy's got a lot of quality. I love his look off to the side. That front third, man, that one's special to me. He's so long and elevated, not only in terms of the length of his neck, but how smooth he ties into the top side of his shoulder. And then you scoot in behind him and you look up high. He's so big and bold and bulky in terms of how much muscle mass he pushes all the way back from his shoulder into a powerful set of hooks and pins. I think problematically speaking, where we can fix this guy is at the surface. You know, you get in front and you study how his front two feet settle down to the surface. If we can square him up in those regards, I think it would make him look that much more genuine and useful. And then problematically, too, on the lead, he wants to get too rigid and tight off his rear ankles. If we can mellow them out, I think it'd make him that much more comfortable on the lead. But that's getting picky on one that definitely could thump some competition or withstood some competition in this particular class. Love his look, love the presentation. Give her a big, big round of applause.
In first place, Reese Urton.
Let's go Pinwalkers. 2 times around. Go. One more.
Now entering the ring is Class 7 4-H market steers weighing 1,225 pounds to 1,300 pounds.
Zoom out and get you where they Or to the right. So we have to judge on the right. Right there. Zoom in some, please. About there, yeah.
well, maybe the most different class we've seen up to this stage of the game, and not only in terms of the obvious, the color pattern, but just the build and type and kind. And I think all of them have some positivity and at the same time some things that we could fix to make them that much more competitive. My class winner's parked in the middle. That's the young man with the predominantly black steer. It's the silhouette and the striking look that one possesses that really captures my attention. And I'll be the first to admit, when you get in behind him and you study him from his stifle into his lower quarter, he wants to taper and run out of gas, if you will, on a power component. And I think that same disadvantage circulates down to the ground because I'd like to see him that much stouter in terms of his foot and that much bolder in terms of his bone. But past that, you get your hands on him and he handles mellow enough for my liking. You get up high and he really does deceive me because he reads wide, square, and powerful up high. Just wish he matched that power I found in his upper hip as he pushes down to that lower portion of his quarter. But again, he wins for me. His build, his look, and his style. Congratulations to that young man there. Young lady that goes second, that one to me just doesn't look comfortable on the lead, and that kind of jumped into my head right off the bat. And it makes sense because if you evaluate the steer off to the side, the center portion of his back, you can see he wants to roll and get tight as we transition and push into his hip. If we just mellow that out and make him that much longer in terms of how his hip settles on that skeleton, I think he'd be that much more comfortable because he has the advantage relative to our class winner from his stifle down into his lower quarter. I just got to see that one more mobile and comfortable on the lead. But again, a big-footed one that's got some meat and muscle, young lady does a tremendous job. Old Butterscotch on the end, I like some things about this steer here. In my opinion, he's the most correct in terms of the outward turn to his rib cage. He's got that productive look in the center portion of his body cavity as well, too. Unfortunately, today, for my liking, we just got to make him that much neater in terms of the strength to his top line, the length and extension to his neck, but he's got some good productive pieces. Just got to make him that much fancier. Young lady does a tremendous job on the stick. Hats off to all three of these kids. Let's give them a big, big round of applause.
In third place, Taryn Mitchner. Second place, Zoe Daly. And in first place, Tommy Fogarty. Now entering the ring is Class 8 4-H market steers weighing 1,330 pounds to 1,415 pounds. This is the first call for Class 9. Please be ready.
What's that? Hanging out?
Well, quality trio nonetheless, and I think there's some differences on the top side as well as we need to address some things, I guess, if you will, in terms of make these ideal. I thought the logical place in my mind was to start with the young lady on the far end. I think that steer, when you get your hands on him, he really separates himself, not only in terms of that mellow touch he offers, but up high too. Thought he had the most roll as you touch and you handle him on a muscularity aspect. You know, you put your eyes up high and you study him from the back side of his shoulder all the way to the hip. I thought he was by far the bulkiest and the widest, the most powerful in those regards. I think to make him ideal, I'd like to mellow him in his rear flank and drop that just a little and then clean him up as we study him right there into his chest floor. But past that, I thought that was a solid option. Let's give her a huge, huge round of applause. Different type and kind in the young man's white steer that goes second, without a doubt. This one's got an advantage in terms of what I study is cutability, shape, and dimension on the muscularity component. Just didn't think he'd touch soft and mellow enough for my liking. I like him to the better third of his skeleton as well, too, in terms of length of neck and look that he possesses. Just got to soften that one up, not only in terms of how he touches, but all the way back to the rear portion of his skeleton as we study him into that rear flank. But nonetheless, that's a striking one from the side that's got a ton of shape, dimension, and power. Let's give him a big, big round of applause. Round out the class with the young man here in the middle of the lineup. And again, with that being said, this is a good conventional type, easy feeding steer. He's so big, bold, and round in terms of his body shape. I just wish he had that much more meat and muscle as you study him, not only up high, but also from the stifle into his lower quarter. I think it would amplify his foot size and bone to make him that much more balanced on a bone-to-body ratio. With that being said, huge centered, good middled. Young man does a tremendous job. Let's give all three of these kids a big, big round of applause.
In third place, Ruger Talbot. Second place, Benjamin Kemp. And in first place, Ellie Boyd.
On you at the exit.
Now entering the ring is Class 9 4-H market steers weighing 1,500 pounds to 1,525 pounds. Next in the ring is the 4-H champion drive. Please be ready.
Well, just a pair of the two heavies, and with that being said, I think both of them definitely could withstand some more competition and entries in this particular class. I opted to use the young man on my left, and I think it's just the word power comes to mind, because when you scoot in behind that guy and you study him in terms of not only the width from his stifle into his lower quarter, but the shape and the boldness in terms of his muscle design, and then up high from the backside of his shoulder into his back, man, he is so big, bold, and wide. Ideally, I'd like to fix him as you study that one in terms of how his neck ties into his spine. I want to see him that much more unique and smoother in those aspects. And then the lower third of his body cavity, if we can trim him up there, I think that makes for a better balanced look off to the side. But nonetheless, he's got an advantage in foot and bone, meat and muscle. Let's give him a big, big round of applause. The young man that goes second, I prefer that one in terms of how that lower third settles smoother and neater relative to our class winner. I got picky on this one in terms of how his skeleton's assembled. If you study his shoulder into his forearm and down into his knee, just read him too straight, and it makes sense because when the young man pulls him into lead, that fat steer is just too restricted in terms of his movement. But hey, with that being said, love the look and love the presentation. Let's give both of these two young people a big, big round of applause.
In second place, Aiden Rizzo, and in first place, Caleb Brooks. Next in the ring is the 4-H Champion Drive.
I'll meet you down after that. There's Grant right there.
Well, let's give these four 4-H members a big round of applause for winning their class and coming out to the 4-H drive. I don't know if we need to chit-chat on every single one of them, but obviously I'll give you and explain what I see and where my mind goes. I think there's one out here where we study him and just in terms of his basic build, and then at the same time, I think he's got that much more thump and that much more power. We like the fact that he's so mobile, and I think that kind of separates himself when we start to study him against the others that I have in mind. But he's a big-bodied steer that when you swing in behind, I think is big and bold in his upper hip. You touch him, he's mellow to the touch. Young lady here that's second in line, that'll be your champion 4-H steer. Let's give her a big round of applause. We bring the second place here and definitely becomes an immediate contender in my opinion. You love the muscle shape and the look that one has off to the side. Maybe, to the touch and to our eventual champion. Maybe read just a nickel harsher and touch that much more bare as we got into his rear rib, but I think he still has enough. The other one that's in contention is the predominantly black steer. We love the look that one has off to the side. I guess the thing that just keeps jumping back into my mind is from his stifle down into his lower quarter, does he have enough gas? And I'm not sure he quite does because this silver steer to me has that advantage. That'll be a reserve 4-H. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Congratulations, your 4-H champion market steer went to Ellie Boyd. And reserve 4-H champion goes to Benjamin Kemp. Next in this ring is the Supreme Champion Drive.
Now you know my turkey dollars and that work.
Oh yeah, you want to play that one? I've already
On you. Zoom out a little bit. Hand him over. All right, go back to fifth and right. That's good.
Well, let's give these four young people the biggest round of applause yet, if we could, to make it to this stage of the game. Not easy. I don't care where you go, what show it is, whether it's a county fair, a regional show, national show. These things are so tough. So, with that being said, I think there's one that stands out, and I'm not going to nitpick on him because we talked his problem in the division drive, but I just think in terms of one that's pulled apart up front. He's big and broad from the backside of his shoulder. He's so smooth from the rear 2/3 of his skeleton. Young man that wins that champion FFA. He'll be your supreme. Oh, we plugged that reserve FFA in for reserve Supreme Honors, and we talked to him. I love the look, especially that front third, and we talked about him having that advantage over our FFA champion in that particular division. Maybe he just didn't think he has much punch and power when you got him behind him. But with that being said, the look and the style that he offers off to the side, I think he's got enough bark for me today. Reserve FFA, that'll be Reserve Supreme.
Congratulations, your 2023 Grand Champion goes to Will Kemp. And Reserve Grand Champion goes to Evelyn Thornburg. Another congratulations, your 2023 Bred and Fed goes to Will Kemp.
Zoom in on the banner.
That's the guy that's won all of it. Not one.
Now entering the ring is the Pen of Three.
I appreciate it. I like it.
And a little bit less.
Well, just two chapters for the Pen of Three, and always, you think back when you get to these club groups or chapter groups, where do you lie your priorities and what types of preference do you put into a play? And I'm always the one of type and kind, and we may sacrifice a little bit of quality from group to group, but at the same time, I think there's a trio of them that match up that much better, just in terms of moderation, in terms of being that much smoother. I think they're presented to a T. This group here will be first, followed closely by that group there. They'll be second. Let's give them all a big, big round of applause. Good job, you guys. Killed it. Awesome.
In second place, Lone Pine FFA. And in first place, Bishop FFA. We'll see everyone here tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the turkey show.